Tonight, we delve into a story of injustice, love, and redemption that has captivated audiences for generations. A story that begins with a man condemned for stealing a loaf of bread to feed his starving sister's child. This is the story of Les Misérables. Our journey begins with Jean Valjean, released from prison after a grueling 19-year sentence. Marked by a yellow passport identifying him as an ex-convict, he is an outcast, shunned by society. Desperate and embittered, he finds shelter with the benevolent Bishop Myriel. In a moment of weakness, Valjean steals the bishop's silverware and flees, only to be caught by the police. But in a pivotal act of mercy that will forever alter the course of Valjean's life, the bishop lies to the authorities, claiming the silver was a gift. He then gives Valjean 2 silver candlesticks, telling him to use them to become an honest man. Haunted by the bishop's kindness, Valjean breaks his parole and disappears, determined to live a new life. 8 years later, we find him under the alias of Monsieur Madeleine, a wealthy factory owner and the respected mayor of a small town. But the past is never far behind. The town's new police inspector is a man named Javert, Valjean's former prison guard. Javert is a man of rigid principles, who believes that a criminal can never change. He grows suspicious of the mayor's true identity. Meanwhile, a young woman named Fantine, one of Valjean's factory workers, is cruelly dismissed when it's discovered she has an illegitimate child. To support her daughter, Cosette, who is living with a corrupt innkeeper and his wife, the Thénardiers, Fantine is forced into a life of desperation. She sells her hair, her teeth, and eventually her body, all while the Thénardiers exploit her for more money, lying about Cosette's well-being. Valjean, as Mayor Madeleine, discovers Fantine's plight and, consumed by guilt, vows to care for her and her child. However, Javert's suspicions about Madeleine's identity intensify. When another man is mistakenly identified as Jean Valjean, the real Valjean is faced with a terrible choice: remain silent and allow an innocent man to be condemned, or reveal his true identity and lose everything. True to his newfound conscience, Valjean confesses, shattering his new life. He is arrested once more, but not before promising the dying Fantine that he will find and protect her daughter. Valjean escapes prison and finds young Cosette, who is being cruelly abused and used as a drudge by the Thénardiers. He pays the greedy innkeepers to take her away, and they flee to Paris, where Valjean raises her as his own daughter. For years, they live in hiding, finding refuge in a convent where Cosette receives an education and Valjean works as a gardener. As Cosette blossoms into a beautiful young woman, she catches the eye of a young student and revolutionary named Marius Pontmercy. They fall in deeply love, meeting in secret. However, Valjean, ever fearful of his past being discovered, decides they must flee to England. This personal turmoil unfolds against a backdrop of political unrest in Paris. The city is a powder keg, and the death of a popular general ignites the flames of the June Rebellion of 1832. Marius, heartbroken at the thought of losing Cosette, joins his fellow students at the barricades. The Thénardier's daughter, Éponine, who is secretly in love with Marius, tragically dies at the barricade while saving his life. Before she dies, she gives Marius a letter from Cosette. Valjean intercepts Marius's reply and learns of the young man's love for his adopted daughter. Putting aside his own fears, Valjean goes to the barricade to save Marius. There he comes face to face with Javert, who has been captured by the revolutionaries. Valjean is given the chance to execute his longtime pursuer, but in a profound act of mercy, he secretly lets Javert go free. As the army storms the barricade, Valjean finds Marius gravely wounded and carries him through the treacherous sewers of Paris to safety. When they emerge, they are met by Javert. Valjean pleads for time to take Marius to his grandfather. Javert, whose rigid worldview has been shattered by Valjean's compassion, agrees. This act of mercy is too much for Javert's unbending sense of justice to comprehend. Unable to reconcile his duty with the debt he now owes to a convict, Javert takes his own life by throwing himself into the Seine. Marius recovers and is reunited with his grandfather, who consents to his marriage to Cosette. After their wedding, Valjean confesses his past to Marius, who, not knowing the full story, distances Cosette from him. Alone and heartbroken, Valjean's health begins to fail. But the truth of his heroism is finally revealed when the Thénardiers, in an attempt to blackmail Marius, inadvertently prove that it was Valjean who saved him from the barricade. Filled with remorse, Marius and Cosette rush to Valjean's side. They find him on his deathbed, and in his final moments he is surrounded by the love of the family he created. He dies in peace, his promise to the bishop and to Fantine fulfilled. A life of hardship and injustice, redeemed by love and sacrifice, finally comes to a gentle close.